everybody to our Organic Week webinar series where we are here today with Chef Harriet Clunie.
Hi,
And
so nice to be with you.
We're so excited to have you, and we are live in Tia's kitchen. So I'm excited to have foodies in my house cooking with me, showing all sorts of organic wonderfulness that's going to be made into awesome recipes for you all today. And we're also just going to be talking about organic. We're going to be talking about how to preserve organic, how to enjoy organic, and how to make deliciousness out of organic. So I'm going to pass it over to Harriet, and I'm going to just be here hanging out on the sidelines having a chat and being her sous chef. So please,
That's right. Yeah,
use me and abuse me as much as you need to.
I love Tia's kitchen. It's great. It's gorgeous.
Awesome.
I love all the wood. Awesome. Well, thanks so much for being here. I'm super excited to be here. And so today I'm going to be doing two things. One, I'm going to walk you through one recipe. And then while that's in the oven hanging out, because it's kind of boring when it's just in the oven, I'm going to show you a couple tricks that I have developed over time of being a restaurant chef and how to keep your produce as long as possible, because we love organic food, but produce it's on its way to its grave as soon as you get it. So the longer we can keep it, the fresher it is, the more nutrients it retains, and the more you get out of the extra dollars that you spent on the organic food to help the earth and yourself and everybody. So that's actually one of my deep passions. I have a little show called Scrap Cooking where I show people how to use the odds and ends that you would often just throw in the compost or the garbage and turn it into something delicious. So I'm going to share one of those recipes right now.
Woo!
So, woohoo! So we're going to do a cauliflower mac and cheese. So the noodles are wheat. And the sauce is going to be cauliflower, but we're actually not going to use the lovely florets because those are better used for things like roasted cauliflower to make in other things. But we are going to use the stems of the leaves and the core as well. Yeah, we've got some cores, and we're going to peel off the leaves and we're going to add that later. And so the whole sauce is going to be made out of the cauliflower cores and stems of the leaves. And we don't need to make a roux, and a roux is like butter and flour mixed together in a pot that helps thicken it, because there's so much fiber that's in our cores and stems that it kind of thickens itself. So we are going to use some cream. We're going to use some cheese, beautiful organic cream and cheese, and a little bit of butter because it makes everything better. However, it's completely doable to make it gluten-free and dairy-free and completely vegan. So you can substitute the cream and butter for other organic or non-dairy substitutes. I will provide a recipe for both, one that's full-on dairy and one that is no dairy. So you can also use gluten-free pasta, really, and gluten-free bread. Really, it's more the method than anything, and it works either way. So to start, my lovely sous chef has taken one of these cauliflowers down for me. So I'm going to take the other one down. So I'm going to take my knife. I'm going to cut into kind of the base, but going in on an angle because I'm going to be cutting off all the stems. So I kind of just go like this, and then now you're kind of inside. So now we can just kind of take the leaves off as we go. So now we've got these leaves. We're going to do this. Now we're going to take off the florets. So in doing exactly the same thing in exactly the same way, we're just going to go in on the knife on an angle because the core kind of goes up like we can see here. It's kind of like a little pyramid, a little conical shape. So we're just going to keep doing that. And as we go, the florets are going to just fall off. So we're just working our way around, and then we get to the top. It's kind of like a little tree. So then we can kind of just cut it off. Oh no, cauliflower down!
This is when your sous chef comes in.
That's right, exactly. And Tia's floor is so clean that we can eat off it, so it's good. So now, with some organic food, as you'll know, there's often, sometimes, you know, doesn't have as many pesticides, has no pesticides, so sometimes we get a little spot. Don't worry about it, it's not going to hurt you. But we are just going to take it out, just with the little tip of the knife. And that little piece, that can go in your compost. So I'm going to get a little bowl. Can I have a small bowl?
Yes.
Perfect. We'll have that going. Excellent. This will be our compost, and we will have very little compost.
We like compost.
We do. We like compost. Compost is great for organic, and it is one of the it's one of the best environmental things you can do as a solo person. I mean, I know it can feel so overwhelming to try to be environmental and try to make change, and it just feels like it's one drop in the bucket. However, composting is one of the best, absolute best things that you as an individual can do, because what happens when you take things that were alive, once were alive, and you put them in the garbage, when it goes to the landfill, it actually compacts, and there's zero air, and it just compacting, there's no air, and there's a lot of heat, and it actually converts into methane gas, which is like not factual, but 3 times or something more potent as a greenhouse gas than CO2. So when we put it in the compost, we're adding air, we're adding enzymes, and we're adding heat, and that airflow, and that combination of things is what's actually going to convert it from something that could be methane gas in the landfill, but it's actually going to go back into the earth. We get that beautiful, rich soil that comes out of it, and we go back into the earth. And so really, like, composting is just such an amazing thing to do. So if you feel like you can't do anything and recycling feels really hard and everything feels overwhelming, like compost. Okay, that was my message for today. So now we're gonna just cut these guys a little smaller. We're not gonna eat them today. I love roasted cauliflower. It's one of my favorite things. So we're just going to do this. We're going to throw it in a bowl. All I'm going to do is add olive oil and salt, and I'm going to roast them, and I'm going to eat it tomorrow with all sorts of stuff. Maybe some of that hummus that we got, maybe a salad. It's just delicious. So we've got our nice big bowl. All my florets can go in there. I'm going to get these guys. Okay, little guys are good. I don't like taking them down too small, because as they roast, they are dehydrating, so they actually become a lot smaller. So sometimes when you end up with too small pieces, they're just kind of, they're just tiny, and they don't really do much. So the big ones I might cut into one, but I'd like to leave them a little bit big. Personal preference. There's no right or wrong in cooking. Sometimes there's just more efficient. All right. So I'm going to put this aside for later. Now, this little brown guy, he can go in the compost. But all this stuff, all these little bits, I'm going to put in our next bowl, which is going to be for our core. Hey, you guys, get back in that bowl. For our sauce. So any little bits and pieces that fall that are delicious, like that you might throw in the compost, they can actually just go in our sauce, because we're gonna put it in a blender. So we don't need, so I like to keep those guys. So next step, we've got these cores. So we're just gonna cut it into chunks. Again, you don't need to make them pretty. They're going in a sauce, so they're gonna get blitzed. So really, it's just to make them a bit smaller so it cooks faster. That little guy is just gonna go in there, and everything else is good. So, and another thing that I like to do is just kind of hold on to things that I think I'm gonna use later. So, a couple weeks ago, I had some other cauliflower, so I happen to have some stems.
So that's a couple weeks old, that cauliflower?
Yeah.
Wow, it can really last that long.
It can, and I'm gonna share with you some of my secrets on keeping food that preserve that well and for that long, in a little bit. And it's paper towel. You didn't think it was, but it is, I promise. So yeah. I'm gonna just cut up the stems, and then we're gonna work our way onto those guys. Really, the key to preserving food is it's that excess moisture is the enemy. That's what we're trying to prevent. Anytime there's like a little condensation on a piece of glass or the plastic or whatever it's in, that is where the bacteria will start to grow. That's where the mold will start to grow. So that's like one of the pillars of keeping food a lot longer is kind of cushioning so that the condensation gets absorbed by something else and doesn't pool on the food.
That makes so much sense. I mean, when we think about dehydrating food, right?
Exactly.
It can last forever.
Exactly.
Ooh, oh, that's so fascinating.
Yeah, and so the other pillar is taking things into their different parts, because the more water something has in it, the quicker it's going to rot. So, for instance, those stems that you saw that I had nicely preserved for a few weeks, I don't have the leaves on them because the leaves are much more delicate. They have more water in them. These have more starch and fiber in them. So that's what we're going to do. We're going to peel off the leaves and use them. And then, yeah, it's kind of like they almost like infect. Like once you get the kind of rot or mold that gets in there, then it starts to spread. It starts to multiply, it starts to spread. So, and then the other idea of the drawer itself is that it prevents, because you open and shut the fridge door so much, it creates a lot of condensation. So it's actually, that drawer is actually just protecting it from the temperature fluctuations causing the condensation.
Interesting.
And so the dairy you might want to have a little bit colder. But produce, like for the most part, it doesn't need to be the cold, doesn't need to be the back of the fridge, doesn't need that kind of thing. So, all right, we've got a couple more. This little guy, we're just gonna cut him in 4 and add him. So, I make a lot of piles. So, yeah.
So when did you become a chef? How old were you?
Oh, I was a little bit older, not tons older. I was part of the double cohort, which was the year of high school where they decided that we wouldn't have grade 13 anymore. So I was the first year. So I graduated with the grade above me, with the OACs. And so that meant that twice the amount of people were going to college and university. So I took 1 or 2 gap years, I can't remember. And food has been in my family. I grew up with allergies, as I'm sure many of you have allergies or have someone in your family with allergies. So I was always we always had to make our food. We couldn't just buy it because I was allergic to wheat and yeast and dairy and eggs. And of course, as a child, that's all you want. You just want those things. So staying
mac
over
and cheese.
Oh my God.
And here you are.
Here we are making mac and cheese. That's right. Yes, there's lots of things from my childhood that I eat a lot now because I couldn't have it then. I have since grown out of the majority of my allergies, except for one silly one. It's my least favorite. I'm allergic to apples.
Oh, that's very unusual.
I know. It's so it's in the rose family. Anything in the rose family raw kind of causes my throat to itch.
Mm-hmm.
It's not anaphylactic. It's not going to close. I'm not going to die. It's just deeply uncomfortable. You kind of want to just claw it out.
Yeah.
Yeah, so we don't do that. Cooked apples, for some reason, apples seem to be the worst ones, the worst offender. So even cooked apples sometimes does it too, so I just avoid them. But cider vinegar's fine. It's sort of, the more you denature it from its original form, the easier it's tolerable in your body.
Yeah.
From the research I've done, it seems to be that I'm actually allergic to birch, but the receptors in your body are so similar that my body interprets the rose family as birch.
Right.
Yeah. So
Yeah.
peaches, pears, cherries. I can't have the
Those
raw.
are nice.
It's just summertime.
Yeah.
What I wouldn't give to have a fresh peach.
I bet, eh?
Yeah.
Well, so many people, I think, discover organic when a doctor or a naturopath says, hey, you've got allergies.
Yes.
First thing you should do is go organic to try and eliminate that, and then
Absolutely.
deduce it down and try and figure out where the source of your actual
Yeah,
allergies
because
are.
it definitely weeds out whether it's a pesticide allergy or the actual item,
Exactly.
for sure.
Yeah. Yeah, we did a study a couple of years ago which asked whether people had dietary restrictions or regimes, and that's why they were choosing organic. And they said, well, 22% of the population who eat organic actually responded yes.
Wow.
Yeah.
Wow.
So fascinating just
That's
to
very
see.
fascinating.
Yeah, that it was, and a lot of people, new Canadians that come to our country say, "Oh, I cannot have that, non-organic milk. It doesn't taste like milk."
Uh-huh.
So there's certain products that just
Absolutely.
have been so altered. It seems over time that
Yes,
it doesn't
absolutely.
even taste it like people expect anymore.
Agreed, and that's one of the things one of the reasons why I ate organic as a kid. Like organic's been part of my family, part of my mom. My mom my mom has passed, but she had anaphylactic allergies to peanuts and shellfish, and non-anaphylactic allergies to wheat and dairy and a whole bunch of things. So we've sort of always had organic, and we're into kale before it was cool. That I loathed as a child. So I just cut up these guys into chunks just while we were chatting, and so that's going to be the base. Look at that. That's a huge amount of stuff that you can make things with that you wouldn't even think that you would often just put in the compost, but it's so full of good stuff, nutrients, fiber, all that stuff. So it's going to be the base of our sauce, and I'm left with these leaves, and they're greens, just like kale, just like other leafy greens. So, and I love them. So I like to just kind of cut them up really tiny, and then we're gonna add them to our sauce last minute when we add some parsley. So, because we always like to get our greens in. So I'm just cutting them, nothing special, no special cut, no technique, like just getting them a bit smaller. And that's it. May I have one more tiny bowl?
You can have whatever you like.
Woohoo!
There you go.
So yeah, so
Do you
we're
need this
gonna.
anymore?
I do not. Thank you so much.
Let me be your sous chef.
Love
Let's see
it.
if I can move anything. Does it look better? Yeah.
Great. Okay, so I'm gonna put this guy aside because we don't need it, but I am gonna put it by our pot because we're gonna add it at the end. And I'm also gonna move these guys over to the pot for when we start sauteing those guys. In the meantime, I'm gonna take some of this bread, this lovely bread. I keep moving.
Yeah, I forgot to tell you there's
It's
nuances.
a floating island.
Yes. Tia's Kitchen's got surprises.
So I'm gonna get a pan. So this bread, I would usually use some of the crust ends of the bread because not everybody likes them, especially children. So I usually keep my bread in the freezer, sliced already, and then my butt ends of the loaf or one that kind of got dried out, left outside overnight or whatever, those I'm gonna cut up into little crouton size. We're not gonna do all this bread. We're just gonna do a, getting ahead of myself. There we go. All right, in the bowl first, pan after. So we're gonna add some of these croutons because this is gonna be the topping for our mac and cheese, because I don't know about you, but I do love mac and cheese just on its own, but I really love crunchy things with soft things, so, and creamy rich things. So we are going to make these into croutons, and then we're going to make the croutons into breadcrumbs. So it's also another way to use up the whole loaf of bread. And then once they're croutons, like you can keep them as croutons and use them in a salad. And they keep for a really long time once they're dried out. So I'm just going to take some of this lovely organic olive oil and just put probably a little more than you think you should on here. It's going to help it get nice and brown. And then we're going to toss. And then we're going to put it on this pan, and then we're going to put it in the oven. I've got the oven at 350. And depending on how brown you want them, I wouldn't go too much higher. 375 would be as high as I would go because they are wont to burn. Do you have some salt?
Yes.
Excellent.
Oh, perfect.
Perfect. So we're just going to do this. So the higher your oven temperature, the darker they're going to get. So if you don't want any color on them, then you can do them at 250, 300, 250, very little color. And it just takes longer. You'll still get the same result. You're essentially just dehydrating them and then just creating some nice browning.
So want me to put them in?
Yeah, that'd be great. And then we're going to set a timer because I'm really good at forgetting things in the oven.
Does it matter how high? On the racks?
No.
Okay.
No.
And how much time do you want?
Let's set a timer for 7 minutes. We'll check it and we'll see where we're at. All right. So I'm going to cut a little chunk of this butter off. Now, one of the other things that I save, which people kind of look at me cross-eyed, but I save the butter paper.
It makes sense.
Yeah.
You need it, right? For butter in your pan.
Yeah, exactly. Because all this butter is still good, and it's perfect for smearing on your muffin tin, baking pan, and I also use it if I'm like grilling meat or something, and then I want to like use it as tinfoil, like as a little tent.
Oh, that's a good idea.
And then the steam gets the butter kind of, and it drips on it.
Yum.
And that works for non-dairy butter as well. Don't think I didn't forget about you guys.
Awesome.
So,
it's so great that there's so many non-dairy options now.
Oh man. Yeah, it's incredible. Like as a kid, not being able to eat dairy. My food at home was really good, but anything purchased at a store was just bland cardboard.
Yeah.
So I mean, to be a kid or vegan or whatever now, like it's
totally different.
Totally different. And I'm jealous. So I always cut my butter. I keep it with the paper on it, but I always cut it on a towel. And there's 2 cups in a pound, so I always kind of mark it as I'm going.
Why do you cut it on a towel?
So because if I cut it without the towel and I'm cutting it into chunks, it actually cuts the butter paper.
Okay.
And so it kind of looks like a grid.
Yeah.
And then the butter paper's awkward to use. So if I cut it on this towel, it actually buffers the edge of the knife so it doesn't go through the paper, and I love that.
Cool.
So we're gonna use about that much butter. And we'll save this guy. You can use it for later. And then it's ready to go back in the fridge.
Yeah, it's actually heavy.
Yeah. No towels were hurt in the cutting of this butter. Yeah, okay, so now, and then I've got this cheese, because it is a cheese sauce, and if you're vegan, dairy cheese. So we have a lovely organic cheddar that Tia has grated for me. And then I had some other organic cheddar in my fridge, but it was the pre-sliced kind, and I was in a rush, and the little flap that keeps it shut was open, so it kind of dried out. So I wouldn't really want this cheese on my sandwich, but it's good to put in my cauliflower cheese sauce. So I have a little, what I'll show you from my magic sink. So I keep cheese rinds. This one just says parm rinds.
Oh,
but,
yes.
and it's a big container because I in a bigger kitchen doing volume cooking. So in my house I have a little one. And again, with the plastic, you can use glass or whatever you prefer. But it's the same concept. It's just paper towel on the top and the bottom. And then I keep it, and it just keeps drying out. So it doesn't actually mold, it just dries. So we're gonna take this cheese and this butter, and we're gonna go over there. We're gonna reconvene at the oven. Perfect. All right, so we're here by the stove. I've got my cauliflower stems and cores. I've got my parsley stems. I've got my cheese on standby, and I've got my little pat of butter. It's a little bit bigger than little, but that's okay. So I'm going to turn on this burner. So I don't need it to be high. It's a gas burner, so it's going to be on medium heat. And I'm going to add my little pat of butter. And every stove is different. Every range is different. So it depends on how hot your equipment is. So I find often that electric stoves, while they take a lot longer to heat up, they actually get hotter faster. So if I'm on an electric stove, I might turn it up high to start and then turn it down if I want a medium heat. Whereas if I'm on a gas burner like this one, I'm actually going to turn it up a little bit because sometimes it takes too long. So we're just going to melt the butter nice and easy. If you're not partial to butter or you're vegan or dairy free, you can use butter substitute or olive oil. Either is fine. So we're just going to melt and melting. Yeah, and once this butter is nice and melted, then we're going to add our parsley stems and our cauliflower stems in. And we're just going to sweat them a little bit first. So we don't want any color on it because it's a whitish, off-white. We can consult the painting companies about shades of white. Eggshell or ivory. All right, my butter is melted. I'm going to get it just a little bit hotter. I kind of want it to be bubbling a little bit, but I don't want it to be so hot that the milk solids that are in it burn or brown, because that's going to color my sauce and then it will be a completely different shade. All right, there we go. So now I'm going to gently add these in and try not to make a mess. Our stems and our cores and all the little bits in the pot. And we're going to add our little parsley bits. And Now we're going to try to stir it all around, kind of get everything coated in the butter. And then we're just going to sweat it a little bit. I'll probably turn the heat down a bit. And I always like to have one of my handles away from the heat, because then I always have one handle that's not hot. So then I only ever need one mitt or tea towel or whatever. It's the back one will be really hot, but this front one, then I'm not struggling to find two, as I'm a rag thief. And then I leave them somewhere and I can't find them. So this is my little trick to make sure I only need the one. And we're going to add some salt. So adding the salt is going to, it kind of quickens up the releasing of the liquid that's in the produce, whatever it is that you're sweating, be it onions, garlic, whatever. And you can also add onions and garlic. Today we're just keeping it very simple. We're just doing straight cauliflower and parsley, but garlic is always a good addition, in my opinion, and onions too. So we're just gonna, they're nice and coated, but we're just gonna kind of leave it for a little bit. I'm gonna turn it down just a bit, and we're just gonna hang out for a bit. About that, so I usually use two for a dish. So we're gonna do the same thing. We're just gonna kind of heat it up with my own heat. We have a little friend. We have a little fly that keeps flying around, and he's very elusive, and he
can smell how delicious
yes,
it is.
that's right. He's very intrigued by what we're doing, so we've now decided that he's our friend.
We have to name him. What's his name?
Oh, we'll name him George.
Oh my God, I was gonna say the same thing.
I love it. George,
you're being a pain, George.
Yeah.
Getting in our food, George.
There we go. So now these guys can go. I'm actually not sure if they go in
the garbage.
The garbage, I believe.
Yeah, pretty sure.
Yeah. Every now and then we're going to give it a stir, because as it's not super, super hot, the top is going to make a skin. So every now and then I'll just come back here and give it a stir. So this can wait. It's ready for when we need it. All right. So we've got our nice sauce. We've got our dried cheese. So I'm just going to crumble it up and add it in here, little bits. It's going to be nice and melty. I'm going to take this lovely cheddar and I'm going to put it in, but I'm going to leave a little bit because we're going to put some on top. There we go. So now we're just going to get it all melty. I don't like to add the cheese in too early because it tends to sink to the bottom and likes to burn. So I like to add it at the end.
Yummy! Look at that.
It's getting nice and thick. And we're also going to have some water on standby because we'll need to make sure that the Vitamix bowl can blitz it. Sometimes if it's too thick, it doesn't really go anywhere. So, alright, so I think that's pretty melty, and we just happen to be here just to check this.
Ooh, delicioso.
Almost. Now we're getting a little bit of color. Okay, I heard you.
How much longer you want? I'll put it on.
I think it needs another 10. Okay. And then it's good. So we got our nice cheese in there. Everything is melted. We are going to bring the pot over to the blender.
That's the hot stuff coming through.
All right, so we need to remember that we have put our little thyme bundle in. So I'm going to put that over there because it does not like the blender. So we're gonna add, this is not the right tool. Do you have a ladle?
I have a ladle.
Excellent.
Good thing you asked me this week and not last week, because I lost my ladle.
Oh, no.
Buy a new one.
So we're gonna add our sauce. We're not gonna add all of it. We're gonna do it in 2 batches. And my lovely sous chef, we are going to have a bowl ready. Which, I'm gonna use the bowl that the cauliflower was in. I'm gonna add just a little bit of this liquid at the bottom, and like I said, we're gonna have a water on standby just in case it's too thick. That is often the case. So I'm gonna put it on the stand, and you can use a hand blender too. You can also use a food mill if you didn't have either of those things. So we've got this lid. Now this little one that goes inside, we're gonna remove it because the liquid is so hot that it will actually cause like steam to create pressure and has exploded. And there many a time has there been sauce on the ceiling. So we just prevent that. So, but because we don't want it to go up in the ceiling, I usually take either a towel or a piece of paper towel. If I can't find my towel, since I'm lose my towels all the time. Or I don't want to get my nice tea towel. Cauliflower, exactly. So we're going to go like this. And the tea towel, because it's not, it's porous, so the steam can go through. Start low and we increase.
Wow, you did that way longer than I anticipated you would.
Well, like I said, we really want it to be nice and smooth and velvety, which it is, so.
Wow.
So it's about 30 seconds. So,
Nice.
there we go.
Look at that.
Yes, nice, delicious sauce.
I can't believe that's just the core.
Just the core.
And the leaves.
And the stems of the leaves, yeah.
Stems of the leaves, yeah.
And we got so much, like that's only half.
Wow.
2 cauliflowers. Now, depending on the price of cauliflower, as can be expensive out of nowhere.
Mm-hmm.
I think it was like the bougie cauliflower of like 2018 or something, where it was like $10 a head of cauliflower for no reason. Yeah.
Oh my god.
Oh man.
That's a lot.
So yeah, I start low and now I'm gonna start cranking it.
So I checked, those 2 cauliflowers cost $4.69 organic.
Okay.
Pretty good.
That's pretty good. I mean, I think I've seen cauliflower 3 something, and like the very bottom is usually like $2.99 a head, but I've seen it for like conventional cauliflower, so I mean, that's pretty
really good.
That's pretty
Well, it was
comparable.
$2.99, but because I bought 2.
Oh, it was $2.99 each.
Yeah.
Oh, wow. Okay, then it's completely on par, and that's awesome.
Yeah.
I'm so happy to see that the organic prices, because it's becoming more mainstream, because more people are doing it, means there's more demand for it, meaning there's more, then there's sort of economies of scale and the price can come down, which is awesome, because I love organic so much, and I've been organic kid since I was a kid. But there's just so much wrong with our food system in terms of equality that it just, it's so hard.
Yeah. The goal should not be cheap food. The goal should be nutritious food.
Exactly. Yeah. So we're going to put that away. So we have our sauce. I'm just going to go grab a few things. Oh my gosh. So I'm going to add our cauliflower leaves into our sauce. And I'm going to add some of the thyme and some of the parsley into it. And then the rest of this parsley thyme mix we're going to put on top afterwards. And the heat of the sauce is just going to wilt it. And then we're going to taste it and then adjust the seasoning. And then the fun part. But first, we are going to crush the bread. So yeah, so we're just gonna let this guy. I need a spoon. Regular old spoon. Please. Thank you.
Looks good.
That's pretty good. So we just need some salt. Where did I put it?
Here.
Ah! Right in front of my eyes. I'm gonna add a bit more salt. And I'm also going to add a little bit of vinegar to it. It's rich things. I'd also use a lemon. I sometimes also use lemon zest. I would put the lemon zest in here because that doesn't contain the acid. It just contains the...
Can I give you a lemon then?
Yes. I'll take a lemon.
That sounds delicious.
Excellent. And do you have a grater or a microplane?
I do.
Excellent.
Oh, my microplaner's in the dishwasher. Is this okay?
That's great. Now we're going to put a little lemon in there. It's just going to add it some brightness. Like when it comes to really, really rich food, so things made with cream, cheese, butter, it really needs a lot of acid. Otherwise, you get really fatigued eating it, and the fat just kind of coats your mouth. So it needs acid. And brightness. So the lemon zest, like I said, doesn't contain any of the acid, but it does have the volatile compounds that contain the lemon flavor. So we're going to do that. We are going to add a little bit of lemon and vinegar, but we're not going to add a lot because it will curdle the sauce, which we also don't want. But if we mix it in a little bit, and we mix, then it should be okay.
Oh, yeah.
Oh, my sous chef is attending to our roasted cauliflower. Oh, yeah, that looks great.
Beanie?
It's beanie.
Okay.
So that will be for another day. Could be a cauliflower salad. You can have it hot or cold. There we go.
Delicious. You think it's for another day. I think it's for tonight.
Nice. Cauliflower 2 ways.
Yeah.
So I'm going to add this as I mix because, like I said, I don't want it to curdle.
So you never ended up adding any water, hey?
I didn't. No, it ended up being good. Getting there. And now it's just a game of please your own taste bud. Everybody's taste buds are different. I like food that punches you in the face.
That looks so creamy.
I think you should get spoons for everybody so they can try the sauce.
All right, we're doing it.
Excellent.
please, in the film
Fat.
crew up here.
Oh, yeah. Fat also takes a lot of like more salt than you think because it's so rich that it often takes a little bit more than you think. And the other thing is that you also kind of have to think about that it's going to be with noodles, which is a carbohydrate.
Right.
So it's going to absorb. It's going to absorb the sauce, so it's going to thin out the flavor that's there. So you almost need to like double season the sauce so that with the noodles together, it has the right
more
seasoning.
salt is what
Yeah,
saying?
more salt.
Yeah, a little bit more than you would expect.
Yeah. Almost. I'm gonna add a little bit of this.
I never would have anticipated that.
I often use, because in a kitchen I make a lot of buttermilk creme fraiche. So I have a lot of whey there that it actually won't curdle. So actually, if I'm doing a cream sauce, I usually use that. But
Yummy.
I can't bring it. Yeah, I think that's good. One more. It's good if we were going to eat it like a soup. But again, you always need a little bit extra when you're going to add noodles to it. Perfect. All right. Awesome. I often do this with a little bowl, but we're just going to take you could use the bottom of a small pan. You could use a number of things. A little bowl. I usually use a little metal bowl, but we're just going to bash some croutons. So that's pretty well it. Makes a lot of noise. You can also put it in a food processor, but if you're running out of space or you don't have a food processor, this works just as well. And I kind of like that they're a little bit different sizes, then it gives it a bit more texture, which I am a big fan of.
If I just had croutons that were ready to go that I made like last week, I could just do this too.
You got it. There, now you've got panko.
Yeah, exactly.
Real panko. Do you know how they make it?
No.
It's totally crazy. Only the Japanese. They make this bread that's, or I guess a bread dough, and they put it in a container, and then they put like electrodes in it.
Why?
I don't know. I can't remember. Yeah, it's totally bizarre. But yeah, that's how they make the bread that then they dry out to do it.
That is specific to the panko method.
Yeah, it is.
Interesting. I'd love to learn why. Like, what does it do to the bread?
I can't remember. I think it just keeps it like a very even crumb, so that when they dry it and grate it, or however they do that, it maintains the same texture over time.
Very cool.
Yeah, I was looking it up one day and I was like, oh, that's so bizarre, but very cool. I hope someone fact checks me and I'm right. That would be very embarrassing. All right, there we go. Not only that, but we also have somewhere to put it. I need a bigger. I think I need a bigger boat. But if I was using a small bowl, that's what I would do. So, to crush them. There we go. So we're going to do two. So I've got one for each. Perfect. And I think that's a good amount for that. I think it's perfect. Perfect amount.
Oh, good.
So that's like, it was 1 box of noodles?
Yeah.
One box of macaroni.
One little bag.
One little bag of macaroni. And the stems and stalks of 2 cauliflowers. Oh, yeah. Yum. And we made it with vegetables for people who don't like vegetables. I know a lot of adults that still don't like vegetables, so I like to, I always like to try to sneak stuff in and see if they notice. Sometimes they do, and sometimes they don't. Okay. Oh yeah, that looks good. Look at
Oh my god.
Look at that.
Amazing.
Nice and creamy.
That was crazy good.
So we're gonna just, we like salt. Now we're gonna just taste it now that we've got, oh, that smells good. That's pretty good.
Awesome.
Like
I know what I'm eating for dinner.
Yeah, exactly. Added a little bit more vinegar. Like I said, it's a personal preference. Everybody's taste buds are different. But I do find that a little bit of acid really, really helps cut how rich it can be. Yum.
Mm-hmm.
All right. So we're going to do some table Tetris. And we're going to get our 2 grease pans. Oh, that's not the pan, that's the bowl.
Oh yeah.
Ah,
There you go.
oh, it's so cute. I love it.
Little pottery.
Oh, ceramics. Love it. So now we're just going to divide. So when I'm doing things that have more than one of them, I will do it like this. So I'll go 1 for 1.
Oh, that's smart.
And that way
They don't run out.
they're both even. And then we're gonna put the top, the panko on. And then we're gonna pop it in the oven with a little bit of extra cheese.
Yeah, what temperature do you want that at? Sorry.
Yeah, we can turn that down. We'll go to 400.
I think I turned it off. I was a bad girl.
Well, it was at 425 or 450, so it was just cooling down for us.
Oh,
And
it's
then
perfect. Look at it.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I'm excited and I'm hungry.
Yes.
All right. So I think we're gonna go cheese first.
I was wondering what you were going to do with that.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Yeah, so we're gonna add a little bit on top. Because the cheese is a bit warm, it wants to clump as opposed to be nice and grated, but that's okay.
So I did Swiss. That's what I bought.
Great.
Yeah? Doesn't
Yeah,
matter.
no,
Swiss or
just a
cheddar.
melty cheese. You just need a melty cheese. Whatever your taste buds desire. Could be blue cheese.
Oh my.
Mm-hmm. Could be, yeah. Nice melty cheese is Fontina.
That's a little too crazy. Blue cheese? No.
Blue cheese mac and cheese?
That's
too
insane.
far?
That's it. You've gone too far, Harriet. Pull back.
All right.
Blue cheese is outrageous at the best of times.
I love it. It's a love or hate thing.
Yeah. I do love it too.
I have a friend who used to do a dessert with blue cheese where it would be a blue cheese brownie.
What?
Yeah, and it was really
Crazy.
good.
Really?
Yeah.
That's interesting.
Here's looking at you, Jeff Bradfield.
Wow.
Yeah, it was delicious.
Crazy.
Definitely flavors you would not think would go together, chocolate and blue cheese, but I assure you, it worked.
Wow, crazy.
So, now we're going to put our nice breadcrumbs on top that we've crushed.
By hand.
Hand crushed breadcrumbs.
Made with love.
That's right.
This is red Fife wheat.
Oh,
I chose.
lovely.
Yeah, I thought we'd go heritage.
Yeah, absolutely. And adding a bit more nutrition rather than white bread too. So another way to sneak in some nutrients for those who are not nutrient inclined. All right. So there we have it. We're going to throw these in the oven. We're going to we're going to check it in 20 minutes. And once it's nice and kind of bubbly, the cheese is melted, and we've got a little browning action on top, it's good to go.
Awesome.
So yeah, it could take between half an hour and an hour.
Okay.
But yeah, so we're going to do that. Now I can smell our cauliflower macaroni and cheese.
This smells amazing.
Oh yeah. That's awesome. So, oh yeah. Look at that.
Holy moly. That looks so good.
And because it's the summertime, we're going to turn the oven off.
Yes, please. I think our next cooking lesson needs to be sous vide. You know how to cook outside and heat and not do it indoors in summer. Oh my gosh.
Look at those beauties. And I mean, that's that could feed 6 people.
You can't get better than that. I want to thank Harriet. She's been a gem. Look at all this amazing food and food knowledge she's given to us. She continues to create art right here before us.
That's right. We're going to do the final beauty shot, too. We need to see what it looks like on the inside.
Absolutely. Let's not burn ourselves, though.
No, we won't do that.
Yeah. So
I have no feeling in my hands.
I'm going to make the vinegar, and I'm going to post it on Instagram later with my lovely crew.
Yeah, and then the vinegar, I use it if I was doing something like a dessert, like a berry crumble, you could add it in as well, because again, that sort of rich, sweet and richness also needs the acid, but then it's also
acid. What's that book?
Oh, salt,
fire, acid, something.
heat.
Heat.
Oh my
I can't ruin that, but anyway, yeah, I got what you're saying.
Salt, fat. Oh man.
Salt, fat, heat, acid.
Yeah.
There we go.
But not in that order. So we're gonna get right in there.
We're gonna leave this one for the photographers to take home with them. Oh my God! Look at that. Whoa.
Yeah.
That is divine. Yum.
One.
I'm getting spoons.
Get it. Oh yeah.
We should be eating with forks, right?
I'm a spoon girl.
Okay,
honestly, I eat everything with a spoon. It's likely because of professional cooking, I taste everything with a spoon, so I'm really used to using. I even beat eggs with a spoon.
Oh, you do?
Because they're right there. If I need a fork, I usually have to go out of the kitchen into the dining room, into where the utensils are. Right. So it's spoons.
I'll go with spoons. All right.
Thank you.
Are we doing it?
We're doing it, and it's going to be...
Sophie, are you going to come around? Sophie's our photographer. Come on.
Okay.
She's going to come, and we're all going to enjoy this. It's going to be really, really hot.
It is going to be exceedingly hot.
Oh my goodness.
Oh yeah. Paid off.
Look at how hot it is, though.
I also don't have feeling in my mouth. For tasting lots of hot things. That was really good.
Oh, really good. Thank you so much, Harriet.
Thank you so much for having me.
It's been amazing. I'm gonna
An absolute
eat
pleasure.
this for all week.
Yeah, dates.
But thank you so much. We really appreciate you coming, and we look forward to future musings by Harriet.
Yes,
Clunie.
absolutely. And I hope all the festivities for Organic Week are amazing. I'll be tuning in and looking forward to it. So thank you so much for having me. I hope you enjoy. I'll have the recipe for you guys so you can make it
Thank
at
you.
home. And I'll also provide a vegan option.
Awesome.
So, yeah. So
Awesome.
thank you so much again.
All right. Happy Organic Week, everybody.
Happy Organic Week.